Good morning, everybody. You are tuned to Computers 2K now on the Nissan Communications Network. I'm Amnon, your host for the next 2 hours, along with Gal.
Good morning.
Good morning. And I think I see Nick there.
No.
No. No
Sorry.
Nick. Oh, no Nick there. Okay.
Yeah, my bad.
I don't know what happened to Spence, but maybe I missed it and he's out of town. Our number is 919-518-9773, Computers 2K Voice on Skype. And today's show is made possible by vMix Software, Telestream's Wirecast software, and is sponsored by Tom Sinclair of Live Streaming Gear. And I've been battling this morning, Nick. I don't know if you heard something. I didn't. In vMix, when you click on the stream to Facebook, do you stream to Facebook?
No.
And you just click start stream, and then it doesn't do it.
Well, then Facebook's down.
I don't what, but it's not down because I can go to. I can go to the
Well, then
site.
then the Facebook API is down. I mean,
Okay, I
have a hard
tried
time.
toward the end. I tried and I streamed without anything, and it streamed. And I went and looked, and sure enough, it was there. But the trick here is to put the
API issue for sure.
Okay, I hope so. I hope it's not that they changed how they do things. Anyway,
Well, make sure
Uh,
you're updated to that because that could be possible.
yeah. So, how was last night, Nick?
Hmm?
You worked. You worked late. Did
No,
you?
I didn't.
Oh, well, I thought you said you started about before 12.
Yeah. Football
And
game 4 hours.
what time
I
was
went to
that?
a board game marathon last night. I got in at 4:30 this morning, so it's been a long.
Sheesh.
And I'm here. So no, I'm just saying that was a good time raising money for the Children's Hospital Network. So that was good.
Nice. Is that the one that was last week with that record pinball?
Yeah, Extra
Guy?
Life. Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Huh.
Wiggs has got a question in chat. He says, "Is there anywhere besides webs.com to register a domain?"
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I always I'm a big fan of Namecheap. That's where I've got all my domains. I recently worked with Network Solutions over the week, and they are atrocious.
They are.
Their support sucks. Their UI sucks.
Mhm.
The whole company sucks. So do not register with Network Solutions. They are just
I'm assuming that Wiggs is asking this because there was a problem with web.com and some leaks. And
There was a breach.
web.com owns both these companies. What?
There was a breach.
Yeah, breach.
Yeah.
That Network Solution and Register.com are both owned by web.com.
Yeah.
And my interface, all my sites and everything are registered with Register.com because they were so good. I was trying to find out if there was anything there, so I was digging into all the accounts and didn't see. I mean, I get notifications if something changes, and nothing changed, but that doesn't mean that somebody didn't get information. am I going to switch from register.com to somebody else? Not right away. I mean, it's going to be a big job because it's hundreds of domains that I will have to move. And when you move a domain, if you're not familiar with how it works, you have to pay the renewal on the new registrar, even if you registered it yesterday. Even if you renewed your domain yesterday on your current one and you want to move it, when you move, the new registrar makes you pay for 1 year. That's how they make their money, which is fine. That doesn't mean you're going to lose a year. It just means that you're going to have to shell out that money for the new one. And when you do it times few hundred, that's a little bit sticky. Um, I don't know what Wix means, but you might be surprised. Everyone needs to do a who is. Yeah, I mean, you should always do that. But if you set it up right with register.com anyway, whenever if somebody's trying to change something, they send you and me, if you register through Delta Force, a message, an email, and says, "Did you try to do? Are you trying to do this?"
I think they all do that.
Okay. The thing that I don't like about how they do it, and I don't know how others are doing it, is if you don't respond, that means a yes. I think it should be the other way around. I think you should respond and say, "Yes, I was doing this." But they say, "Okay, if you don't respond within 3 or 4 days, then we're going to let it happen." But I mean, I'm on top of it all the time, and it's fine.
For
Um,
one single domain, I'm a big fan of Namecheap. I've got all my domains there. I've never had a problem.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
So
that's they all the domains moved actually from Network Solutions back when. Uh,
I've heard GoDaddy's not bad either. I'm not a huge fan of them as a company, but I've worked with a bunch of domains that are on GoDaddy,
Mhm.
and I mean it's a fine interface. Their support's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
So
The only thing, but GoDaddy, and I don't know if it changed back years ago, they were saying that they own all the domain names and that if you did anything that is against their terms, they can take it away from you. And if somebody, I mean, there were a couple of cases where somebody went and offered them a bunch of money in the early days. I'm talking about like in the 90s. And they'll always find something that you're doing against their terms.
yeah,
And that was, I don't personally know of something like this to happen, but one of my customers who was an attorney told me about this, and I moved all of them out of there too. He wanted to move his. So I said, well, if he's going to move his because of that, then there's a good reason and I'm going to move. But yeah, the only thing you have to watch out with any of them, there's a lot of them, a lot of the little ones that are actually working. They are like an API off of some of the big ones.
yeah.
Like,
A lot of them use Network Solutions as their API.
right. See, like you go to deltaforcedomains.com and you think that it's me. I'm not the registrar. I just make it as a service to my customers because they give me a better price. I pass the savings.
You
But
poser.
I'm what?
You're a poser.
Okay.
You walk around with that you're a
Oh, he's a
registrar. You're a damn
middleman.
liar.
He's a middleman.
And
He's a
and a lot of
shyster.
yeah, it is a
Okay.
it is a middleman. A lot of people make money with that.
Well, then why don't
And
you have
it's
them register
fine.
through you if you can get a better price?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with making money out of it if you're still doing it cheaper to the end user than what they get it from the main one. But my point
Who's
is
your registrar?
register.com.
Oh, so then I guess Wix doesn't want to register it with you.
They what?
So then I guess Wiggs doesn't want to register it with you because he's trying to
Well,
get away.
I mean, the thing is that when you go, that's what I'm saying. Wix needs to know that there are a lot of these registrars that he would go to that are actually the same
Yeah,
company. All you do is you're just shuffling accounts within the same company. So be careful with that. Uh, do your research. And I don't think GoDaddy is one of these. I think GoDaddy is a registrar.
they are GoDaddy, Namecheap. Those I
Yeah.
know for a fact those two are their own
Okay.
registrar.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've got all of my domains on GoDaddy, or excuse me, on Namecheap. But
Yeah.
I've used GoDaddy a lot because a lot of people buy domains there.
Yep.
I use a European registrar called Gandhi.net.
Yeah, they're known to be good. Yeah.
They're very good. I know there are some domains they're not on the cheap side. I never had any issues, and their service is very well. Everything structured around the purchase is good. I used to use, I think I used Namecheap for a while. There was another one before that I used. I don't remember its name, but yeah.
Oh.
I somehow never fell into GoDaddy, even though they were marketing themselves really, really hard a while back.
Go ahead and talk a little bit. I'm fixing Facebook here.
So what did I heard something this week, and unlike Amnon, I didn't write it down.
Hey, Nick, I'll give you something.
Oh, okay.
That funny site.
Oh, yeah. Hold on. Hold on. Let me get this pulled up. So it's a family-friendly show, so I'm not going to read anything. But so
What
there's a
the hell
web.
do you mean?
Well, yeah. So there's this website called "Why the F Was I Breached," and it is a parody website on dealing with security exploits. So it randomly generates a reason why your website was breached or your data was breached, and and it's just a joke site. So it fills in 3 random things, how you got hacked, and then a reason why you'll never get hacked again in the future. And it's because anytime any of these large companies are hacked, they just throw some bullshit statement out there like, "Oh, we did that, and now all your information is safe." So you, I thought it was pretty funny. The URL is why the fuck was I breached.com. So
Yep.
I think it's pretty funny.
That's what Amnon uses, by the way.
What? For his statements when he gets
Yeah.
breached? Yeah, this is what I used to. Yeah.
That's I mean, the first tier uh support, instead of cards, they just have that URL.
Yeah. So this one says that the effing Chinese use the open door in our basement to breach our high security servers, but since we put a rotating lock GIF on our website, it'll never happen again. That's an example of one of the terms here. So pretty funny.
Yep. And it works, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That's
I
what
dealt with,
Experian used.
yeah, that's actually literally the button says Equifax already effing used that one, and that's how you generate a new one. I actually worked with something interesting this week. I sent out a set of phishing emails for a monthly cybersecurity training or a quarterly cybersecurity training. And that was very interesting to send out and watch the results. So we did it with a bank that's a customer of ours, and the phishing email was a message that looked like it was from Microsoft. They're an Office 365 customer, like most of ours are, and it said, um, "Your account was recently signed into from a foreign country. Um, Click here to accept or click here to deny." And I was pretty impressed. 95% of the users um, did not click the link, and we got of course, a whole bunch of phone calls and emails right away when it came through. But it was it was pretty interesting to watch.
Well, we got that going on in the company I work uh, for as well. They do it from time to time, and I gotta say, they always publish the results afterwards. The first time was horrific, uh, but the following ones they improved. So the question is, has the bank been tested before, or is it the first time?
Yeah, I would assume so. I can't imagine they'd pass 95% on the first time.
Yeah,
Um,
I
so I'm
think
sure
the
they've been,
first time it's around 7.
yeah, I'm sure it's very low. But it what I found interesting in the bank was you're dealing with a lot of and you're dealing with a lot of low tech users in the bank. I mean, a
Yeah.
lot of the individual representatives there are not technology minded, technology oriented people, but I assume the field that they work in, they are a little more cautious about that stuff than other people might be because they are dealing with, I mean, they're dealing with very sensitive information, social security numbers, bank account numbers, names, full addresses, how much money you have. I mean, they're dealing with a lot of personal information. So, um, for them, it's obviously very important. Privacy is very important.
Well, I'm sure they talk with them about it a lot. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was good. Lots of emails from users that said, "I got this email. What should I do?" So that was good. That's exactly what you'd want.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was pretty interesting.
All right. Let's see what else we got here. I use Firefox. Guys using Firefox. A lot of other people use Firefox. Scammers are actively exploiting a bug in Firefox that causes the browser to lock up after displaying a message warning the computer is running a pirated version of Windows that has been hacked. The message then advises the person to call a toll-free number in the next 5 minutes or face having the computer disabled. Uh, Jerome Segura, head of threat intelligence and security provider Malwarebytes, said the Firefox bug is being exploited by several sites. On Monday, he reported the bug to the Bugzilla forum. He said he has since received word Mozilla is actively working on a fix. In a statement sent 7 hours after this post went live, a Mozilla representative wrote, "We are working on a fix to the authentication prompt bug that we expect to land in the next couple of releases, either Firefox 71 or 72." Um, Seems to me like if you know that something is being exploited, actively exploited, you do something and you put a patch out there right away, unless it's something that's going to take days.
Well, depends on what the solution is, right?
Yeah,
Let me
I mean,
let me look at it. Firefox bug.
it's it's apparently it's important enough that it's being reported,
Yeah.
uh,
Reported.
and to say that actively exploiting. Now, are we, what are the chances that your Firefox will get hit?
Well,
You
I
probably
mean, it
have,
really depends where you're,
yeah, where you go.
yeah,
Right.
where you,
Correct. But
where you're hanging out.
yeah. So apparently, it's something to do with the authentication prompt bug. Just if you use Firefox, be aware of it. That's all. And talking about browsers, all major browsers, including Chrome, Firefox, Safari, Opera, Microsoft Edge, Vivaldi, Brave, have plans to support DNS over HTTPS, or DoH, a protocol that encrypts DNS traffic and helps improve a user privacy on the web. The DoH protocol has been one of the year's hot topics. It's a protocol that, when deployed inside the browser, it allows the browser to hide DNS requests and responses inside regular looking HTTPS traffic. Doing this makes a user DNS traffic invisible to third party network observers such as ISPs. But while users love DoH and have deemed it a privacy boon, ISPs, networking operators, and cybersecurity vendors hate it.
Of course.
Of course.
Of
Yeah.
course, that's the idea.
Yeah. A UK ISP called Mozilla an internet villain for its plans to roll out DoH. And a Comcast backed lobby group has been caught preparing a misleading document about DoH that they were planning to present to U.S. lawmakers in the hopes of preventing DoH broader rollout. However, this may be a little too late. ZDNet has spent the week reaching out to major web browsers providers and gauge their future plans regarding DoH, and all vendors plan to ship it in one form or another. I mean, we're talking privacy. You want privacy. Here is something to do with and it's not just users, right? The ISPs also talk about, oh yeah, we care about privacy. Here is something, and they're fighting it tooth and nail. It's ridiculous.
Because privacy is never fueled by money; it's fueled by people.
Yeah,
and it's always against the money. And so, yeah, that's why ISPs are fighting it, and that's why we are fighting back by making sure that we can use it.
right.
That's why I recommend using Mozilla, which, by the way, it doesn't enable it by default, but it has the option to enable it. So,
And hopefully it'll be by default. But I mean, why would anybody not want to use it? It should be by default.
why do when it comes to the talk about privacy, right? And people
Yeah.
say, I don't have anything to hide, and it fuels the economy, blah 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 blah. Then I ask the question, and I didn't invent it, I just repeat it, right? It's, do you prefer for your bills that come home to you, do you prefer them to be on a postcard or in an envelope? That's privacy. That's it. You want to be protected.
That's normal.
Yeah, exactly. That's normal.
Yeah.
And so understand that everything that we do on the internet today is on postcards. Everything. Now, and a connection to an HTTPS hosted site, right? Everything within that connection is private, and that has become the norm today.
Yeah.
So where you go within that site, for example, nobody outside who is not running the site cannot know. And DNS over HTTPS means the only thing that will be visible outside is that you are asking the DNS server of something.
For information.
Today,
Yeah.
for information. What information is not revealed? Today, it is completely revealed.
Yeah.
Now, there needs to be some understanding here. The reason that it was completely open, it was because this was designed in the 70s when this didn't exist before, right? And it was designed to create collaboration, and it was designed also with very low bandwidth. So everything that went through this, right, had to do with, and it was designed by a bunch of hippies, basically, right? But we need to remember this is a different era completely, an era where you wanted to create trust in every level, right? And you assumed everything that existed in the network is benign, is either owned, right? It was a government project for the government. It wasn't done for business. It wasn't done for outside, and it was done as an internal project, right?
Right.
So if you're gonna things started getting complicated once you started adding academics into it, right? And then not everyone in the network was vetted. And then when you added business into it, right, and you added money, everything changed. So we've evolved on this network. We're all using this hippie philosophy of computing, right? And we love the functionality that it gives us, but it needs to be more secure, right? And that's the reality we're facing now. Notice when you hear that your service providers really like, right, a feature that you should not enable, and that feature benefits you, then you definitely know that there's money in it, right? There's money in as long as the ISP doesn't know where you're heading, and the ISP will know eventually because the ISP itself will see the IP connection eventually, but it won't know. Every IP can host multiple services, right?
Right.
One of the things that that you do based on the data, right, is track where things are going. The ISPs themselves, they're not going to lose that piece of information too quickly. They will lose the name, but they will just maintain databases of IPs versus names backwards, right? They will maintain their own copy of that. But it will allow parties to remain anonymous, especially if they're endpoints, like a user connecting to another user from between different ISPs, right?
Right.
They wouldn't know what the purpose of the communication is. I mean, if you're connecting to Facebook, they'll know you're connecting to Facebook. But if you're connecting to somebody they haven't seen before, they will have zero knowledge except, some to what ISP the other IP belongs to. That's the only information they'll have. And so it changes, right? It changes everything for the personal user. And I think that's a good change. And whoever thinks it's not a good idea just means until it becomes a good idea, they are making money out of it. They're analyzing the data, they're selling the data, they're doing something with it.
Like they always did.
Yep.
Like they always do. Absolutely. Well, I see Spence in the chat, but I wonder if it's really Spence.
It is. He says he's in Florida.
Oh. Okay. I didn't read that. Okay.
And now to think of it, he did mention it last week.
Um, anybody uses Chrome OS?
Yes.
Okay. The latest version of Chrome OS, version 78, adds separate browser and device settings. Click to call, picture-in-picture support for YouTube also. It also introduces virtual desktop support for the operating system with a feature called Virtual Disk. So, what you use it, Nick, on
I
something?
mean, I've got it installed on something, and I sometimes use it. I'm not
Um,
like a avid user.
yeah, I read about it. I don't know. Is that supposed to be a replacement operating system for?
Well, it's what the Chromebooks run.
Right, but
They run the newer versions of Chrome OS run Android apps. When you're looking at a Chromebook, that's what a Chromebook is running. It's running Chrome OS, which is you see, it's very popular in schools and whatnot because it's pretty much just a web browser OS. So
right, and
yeah,
it's a cheap sort of laptop. It's
well, yeah, because it's not
limited.
that's not running a full OS, so you
Yeah,
don't have to have the resources of Windows's bloatware. You
yeah.
can run a much
Hmm.
lighter OS on it. So yeah, you can get a Chromebook at Staples or Office Max for $250 or whatever. I mean, they're very inexpensive. But they're not no, but they're not the best machines in the world. That's kind of the catch 22.
Well, they are great for what they were designed for,
Yeah,
right?
and I have one. I have a small little laptop that I use that's got Chrome OS that I keep on my coffee table,
Yeah.
which is perfect for what it's intended for. Um, I had an interesting experience with a Windows operating system this week.
Mm.
Has anybody ever used Windows S? Has anybody even heard
Windows
of Windows S?
Windows S. That's the version without the media browser, media applications, and all
S-
that.
So it's even less than that. So it came
Okay.
out in May. Apparently, nobody I work with that nobody's ever heard of it. I'd never heard of it. The people I work with never heard of it. It's a new version of Windows that comes pre-installed. You can install third-party apps. All you can do is install apps from the App Store. It's like Chrome OS, but for Windows. Um,
Oh,
Now,
they used
fortunately,
to call it RTM, I think. No.
yes,
Yeah.
originally with Windows, is it Windows 8? Yeah, Windows 8. They started with that, and it was what the original Surfaces ran, which was just a
Right.
very dumbed down version of Windows. So this new Windows S is
No command line.
no, it's nothing. Now, fortunately, it's to go from Windows S to Windows 10 Home or Pro. You just go to the store and type in Windows 10, and it's a free download, a free update rather, and it just unlocks all the settings. So it's not permanent. Um, but it's something to watch out for if you're buying a new computer because you'll buy your new computer and then you're like, what the hell? Why can't I do anything on it? And it turns out that it's Windows 10 S, and you can't install any programs, or it's crazy. So,
Really?
and this was a Dell
Yeah.
laptop, yeah.
So when you saying you can't, you see, when you said you cannot install third-party programs,
EXE.
I figured you can install like Office. I mean,
Oh, well, you can install anything from the
from
Windows 10
Microsoft.
App Store.
Yeah.
No, yeah, anything, and Office is in the App Store.
Hmm.
Windows 10's got an App Store, which is actually pretty good. There's some good stuff in there. But no third-party EXEs.
Very interesting. And that was it wasn't a dumbed down laptop. It was
No, it was like a
okay.
$600
Yeah.
uh, uh, Dell laptop.
And downloading Home was free.
This was actually a Pro laptop, so getting Pro was free. You just go to the App Store and you search like, something like apps or
Yeah, it doesn't matter. You probably look for Windows Pro and you'll find it. But interesting.
Hold on.
Very interesting.
Yeah, I'm reading about it, and there's an article from 2018.
So you click the start button, you go to settings, you go to updates and security, and then you go to activation, and it says, oh, and it's for Windows 10 Pro. You go to activation on the left side, then you click go to store, and it says switch to Windows 10 Pro. You click install, and then it just updates. It'll reboot the computer, and it essentially does a clean install of Windows. So good move by Microsoft in terms of trying to take some of the Chromebook school market, because that's what this is the kind of OS you want to run in a school environment, or maybe for a child environment. But it's typical Microsoft fashion, just incredibly convoluted.
So you said you had an experience. What did you have to fix
new
something?
customer of ours bought a laptop and we
Yeah.
couldn't figure out how to freaking get
Right.
anything installed on it.
So what did you end up doing? You installed.
We had to walk them through it on the phone to get the Windows 10 Pro installed, and it was an hour and a half ordeal.
Wow.
Because again, you're dealing with non-technical people, and I'm trying to go, and like everything else, Microsoft's constantly changing the UI. So you read an article on how to go through it, doesn't reflect what's actually there anymore. So just kind of a pain. But I didn't even know it existed.
Windows S.
Windows 10
10S.
Yeah. So they got rid of RT.
Yeah, it was RT before, right?
A year ago. Yeah, a couple of years ago with Windows 8. And then in May of this year, they introduced Windows 10S as part of that, excuse me, as part of that May feature update. Bizarre.
People just have to, like you said, watch out and make sure that you are getting Windows 10 on the computer that you're buying and not Windows 10S.
Yeah. Again, it is a free upgrade, but just something to be aware of.
Free upgrade. Wait a second. Free upgrade to Windows 10?
What?
I missed it. What do you mean it's a free upgrade?
Well, depends. I really think it depends on the license that is bundled with the machine. But the machine itself, right, comes pre-installed with Windows S. They call it S10S mode.
It's a mode, not an OS.
Right. Right. So the difference is they changed it into a mode, and there looks like from what Nick is saying, at least on some machines, it comes pre-installed in S mode.
Okay,
which is
so
like this simplified secured mode, right?
So it's not in order to save money on the computer that they are giving you Windows S, but in a crippled mode, you are actually paying for the Windows full operating system. It's there, but they don't make it available to you right off the bat. You have
Correct.
to. Oh,
from what I understand, yes.
Okay. Was your customer in the education field?
No. This was purchased at I believe it was purchased at Staples. This was an off-the-shelf computer.
Oh, so it's Staples mode, S mode.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the article I sent, right, has Windows 10S is not available for individual sale, but it's issued to IT administrators in education, along with laptop found in stores and online.
Yeah, there you
go.
So
yeah, that's the case. The laptop. Interesting.
Just something to be mindful of if you run into a situation which you can't, get this new computer and you can't figure out why you can't install anything. Start troubleshooting. Start your Googling with Windows 10S.
It looks like it'll be there in the laptops in the range of $180 to $300. Interesting, very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So the laptop came with the Pro license.
Correct. But it was feature locked to S by default. And the problem you've got with that is most individuals buying, here's a statement that might not be true in all cases. You've got people that are buying cheap laptops, are probably not the most technically inclined individuals.
Well, that's okay.
And well, it's not okay because they're going to get this computer that's locked down and probably have no freaking idea that it's locked down. And they're just going to say, "Oh, I just can't do this on this new laptop I bought." That's a huge issue.
That's a good idea. That's what I'm saying. It's a good idea. Look, if you have zero understanding of how things work, right? Dumb it down. That's actually not Microsoft's way. That's Apple's way, right? And when it comes to the majority of people appreciate they're being kept safe. And I think it's not a bad idea. If you know you need something else, right? You need to accept some risk. You need to understand that there's more risk in it. Microsoft before never had this. And yes, for me, it'll be like shoving down something down my throat. But as long as it's just a mode, I can deal with it, right? For the layman, yeah, give them something that is in this gold cage, and if they're okay with it, let them use it. And most people are.
Here's the problem I have. I think of somebody like my grandparents. If they were to go out to the store today, Best Buy, whatever, buy a new computer,
right?
And this Windows 10 S is, again, it's a mode, so it's not sold as a Windows 10 S machine. It's a regular Windows 10 machine. Mm-hmm. They're going to get this computer home, try to install the Office suite
but the Office suite is part of the Windows Store.
Correct.
Yeah, but if they have,
for example, they've got Office 2007 on a CD.
Right.
They're going to pop that thing into their computer and be unable to install it, and they're going to think the computer it's got a problem when it doesn't. That's my concern with it.
Well, here's where you're missing something. I'm guessing this computer isn't sold with a CD drive.
I mean, there are a lot of.
This is the new version of computing, right? It is completely online oriented, and in a way, you're probably right. Your grandparents aren't the audience. The audience are probably students, right? Those who don't have a ton of experience before this, just look at it with fresh eyes. You have now a choice between a $300 computer, $250 computer, and a $500 one, right? And the $500 one is has a more open architecture, and the $250 one is a closed down one. But it is safer as long as you keep it in the S mode, right?
But that's what you're missing. It's not a more open architecture. It's the same freaking OS. It's just feature locked on the start. That's right. That's what the confusing part to me is. I think this is a great idea. Don't misconstrue it. I think this is a great idea.
It's not the same OS though. It's not the same OS because you, by your description, right, by switching to S mode, you go through a complete reinstallation of the OS. So that means that core-wise, things are different.
No, but my point is, even if you buy the $299 computer with S, you do get a copy of Windows 10, a full version.
I understand that, and that's why I'm saying it's okay. They're not limiting you, right, because of price. They're not cutting the price on you. They are giving you something. They're giving you a golden cage. Okay?
Gal, it's the same thing. What you can do with cars. They're selling you a race car, but it has a governor on it that makes it only go up to 50 miles an hour. So you're safer. Wait. So you're safer. Yes, you can take that governor off of the car and drive at 200 and drive it in races. But the thing is that if somebody doesn't know it and they say, hey, I'm buying a race car, what? It doesn't go over 50. What's going on?
Okay. So there's one piece of the story that we're missing, and I think Nick is missing as well.
Okay.
And that is the customer called them after they started struggling, right?
Yeah.
What are the chances that when you buy a laptop from a store and you open it, there's a few introductory screens? How many people actually pay attention to these?
Right.
Right? But I'm guessing that those introductory screens explained some of this, or maybe they didn't explain it well enough, right? But it probably was blurted out. Now, we as technical people, we would have looked at it and we said something's weird here, right? And maybe that's the problem. Maybe Windows 10s needs to be huge and on the box, right? And cause you to read about it. But I'm actually inclined to go and try to find one of these and see how it actually works. It
That's
doesn't
my only
sound like
concern.
a.
That's my only gripe.
Well, so yeah, well, one you were away for a second. We don't
I
know.
heard you.
Yeah, so I think, right, that they probably give you an option as you set it up, but after you've already chosen, then the switching is a lot more painful.
Now, you want to hear something?
Hmm?
We recommended this computer based on its online listing, and there was no reference of Windows 10s on it at all. We recommended this specific computer based on its online listing, and it said Windows 10 Pro. So
I don't think
that's the misleading part of this. Again, not that the OS is bad, not
but
that.
that's what I'm saying. We never saw the first screen that appeared to the customer, and
Yeah, but
that
you
might
go to-
be a place where he needs to choose.
Oh, totally understand. But when I'm trying to spec shop at a store, I'd like to know if the computer I'm buying is gonna have a lockdown OS on the start. I mean, when you look at the specifications on Staples' website and it says Windows 10 Pro, and then we get the computer and can't figure out how to install a freaking program, I've got an issue with that.
But
Put
you're
Windows 10s on
assuming
the damn spec sheet.
but you're assuming that Windows 10s is a mode. We established that,
Mhm.
right? So you're assuming that the first screen wasn't, are you going to use it as Pro or as Windows S? And it's saying, hey, Windows S is more secure. You and
Fine.
me have never booted up a computer that was just bought with this OS.
Oh,
That's what
fine.
I'm saying.
Yeah, and that may be more than fine, but put it on the damn spec sheet. If you're gonna sell a computer, put it on the spec sheet.
So
Do you think?
I mean, God, it's
Wait.
like I mean, it's like go.
I mean, it's part of the. That's what I'm. Look,
Gal,
Just
Gal,
We're all-
you need to think outside the box.
I'm
And at
thinking
this,
outside
wait,
the-
hold it a
think
second.
outside the bun.
Hold it a second. Nick, do you think that customer that you had to deal with, if they saw on the box in big Windows 10s, it would make a difference to them?
We
They
wouldn't have
would
recommended the computer if it's in Windows 10s.
If you-
That's the point.
Yeah, if you saw it. Let's now
Yeah.
forget what you did. But if a customer, somebody wants a laptop and goes to Staples and he sees, here's a laptop, and it says Windows 10 OS, and I don't know what that is, but it's
Exactly.
Windows
They have
10.
they have no idea. They're gonna buy it.
That's the problem right there, Gal. It's whether or it's better or not. It's better because it will keep you safer. But if I'm trying to buy one and I'm not familiar with Windows 10s, I see Windows 10, I get it, and then I come home and wait a second, it's not the same. What's going on? Is something wrong? You know, that's the problem. This is the core problem. God, we're not obviously it's the same computer. Obviously it's the same computer. Obviously it's the same OS as Windows 10 Professional. But somebody took it and said, okay, let's just limit this one now because we want people to be safer. I wouldn't be surprised at all if on the same shelf there was the same machine, same model with Windows 10 Professional.
That's what I'm saying. You're saying think outside the box. I'm saying people start thinking outside the box. Okay. First of all,
Okay.
let's not confuse anything, right? Overall, right? The move to this restricted mode is Microsoft's way of trying to control the user experience.
Okay.
Whether it's something you want or not, That's a completely other discussion. I, for one, do not want that, right? I want to control my experience completely. That's why I always stuck with PCs and not went with Mac, right? I want complete control over my system. That being said, most people, right, when they get a bit more control than they're used to, they start complaining things get broken. So I understand the need to move to something more restricted. Now, the only thing we're complaining here, and the only thing I'm hearing in the complaint is Microsoft changed something on me and I wasn't informed.
Actually, Microsoft didn't do this. Dell did that.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's Microsoft. That's what I'm trying to say. Because I'm reading about this rollout. This rollout has been going on now for about a year and a half, almost 2 years, right? Things about it were already published around March of 2018. May 2017, there's the initial unveiling. So there was a year of until the rollout, then the rollout. So there's a process here. Now, it has finally probably got to mainstream. The fact that somebody goes to Staples, buys a laptop, and this is on, right, means it is in full-blown push. I'm guessing there is a benefit that Dell gets financially by installing it in S mode or providing in S mode, using one image against the other. What I'm saying, though, right, you're buying a pro computer, which means it can be managed by GPO. It's something that can go into professional organization, some enterprise organization environment, and still work. And but it's limited on the start. It's like this, as I said, the golden cage. Now, this is the out of the box thinking, is let's let the people know that this is out there by making them try to use it. People were furious with Windows 8 because it changed too much and it didn't do it well. Okay. Then when Windows 10 came out, they had to take a step back, right? And this is their way of going to that step again, right? Forcing to that full screen mode, what they call then they called it the modern UI. They wanted that since version 8. And the reason they wanted that, because they wanted to become iOS. They wanted to become something, right? That they wanted to push the surface. A lot of things changed in Microsoft. And now I'm looking at it, and this looks like a very logical step forward. And it doesn't look like it is actually hurting. It's hurting when you need to learn something new. Since when are we afraid of learning something new?
No, we're not.
Right? So
we don't like it. We don't like it.
That's what I'm saying. Why don't we like it?
No, I don't dislike it at all. All I want to see is I want to see it on the goddamn spec sheet. That's all. That's all I wanted to see. If Microsoft would have put on the spec sheet Windows 10S, we would not be having a conversation. But when we recommend something to a customer based on the spec sheet and we get it and it doesn't match the spec sheet, that makes us, first of all, look incompetent, and two, waste 2.5 hours trying to get a freaking computer out of S mode. That's the only complaint.
And that also means if I'm looking at all of the news around this and all of the updates, one of them is from July, is that this is going to be the default mode for any laptop that's being purchased beneath $300.
Well, it's only for Windows 10 Pro licenses, so I don't know how that's going to but
maybe.
So you mean
when you buy a Pro, it starts in S mode. That's what you know.
You mean if you buy home, then it's okay? It's full black?
It's apparent. That's what I just read.
Interesting. Huh. Well, yeah, and we forget a big part of this puzzle. Where was the salesperson?
Well, we bought it online.
Oh, okay.
Again, bought it online based on a spec sheet.
Yeah.
Again, that is the beginning and end of the complaint. I don't
Yeah.
care about.
Yeah.
I don't care anything about anything else. So what package it came in, if there was a sticker on the box, I don't care about any of that. Oh,
Yeah.
that is completely irrelevant to me. It needs to be on the spec sheet. It's got to
Right.
be on the spec
When-
sheet.
when-
I'm buying it based on the spec sheet.
Did
Yeah.
you write the review on the Staples site where you bought it?
No,
Then maybe it's
That's-
time to mention that.
that's a good idea.
Yeah, it's the thing is it looks really bad when a customer, a client, is asking their IT provider for a recommendation for a laptop, and they get it because the provider told them to get it, and then it doesn't do what they think it should be doing. Right away, it leaves bad taste in their mouth. And then when they call and the IT person comes over and has to go and spend an hour and a half, either online or in person, to change things, it's not a good experience as a business. And that's why it needs to be a little bit more clear. Now, when you say that's going to be the way for anything under $300 to be sold, that's good information. That now, if people are listening, then they know, okay, I see a laptop for $299. Hey, let's make sure that it's like that. And we need to find out, Gal, if what you are saying is true. And anybody
Right,
who
they give
has
an option. Yeah.
that it gives you an option when you start it, because as a user, when you start a computer, then you need to know, okay, yeah, so I need to do this, and I need to do that, and I need to do that. So I'd rather buy
Totally agree.
the cheaper computer and just do these, take
Follow the
that
steps.
step,
Yeah.
turn right over here, and it's fully open in Windows 10. Yeah, we need to find if that's the case. Or does it take an IT person to reverse that and open the go
No,
into
it
full
seems
mode?
that not.
I don't know. I don't
No,
know.
I'm reading from the instructions that are online. It's very easy.
Okay.
It takes time. It's time consuming, but it's easy.
If it's time consuming, it's not easy.
No, I mean, because it takes time. Well, after you click like 3 clicks or something.
Oh, it
does and it takes
redoes.
time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Dan is saying it's not difficult to change S to 10.
Not necessarily true.
I
You have to
again, I
make a
mean, I'm
Windows-
just
you have to
reading
make
in
a
the.
Windows 10
Yeah.
store account. It's a whole process.
Well,
And again, and you're trying to troubleshoot something over the phone with a
Yeah,
non-technically
with a
technically
non-technical,
oriented
absolutely.
person,
Yep.
this is where this whole conversation started.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
problem is not Windows 10s. It was the
Let me ask you this: does Windows 10s allow remote?
no. We couldn't connect. That's what we were trying to install a remote
What?
connect agent to do it, and we couldn't because it wouldn't let
Well-
us install an exe. And RDP is not supported. And I mean, plus with
So-
RDP, you'd have to port forward anyway. So
No, hold on. So, is there a remote desktop solution that works in Windows S?
I would
something from the
say
store,
no.
maybe. I have no idea.
No, I would say no, because part of being quote unquote safe is not to have anything done remotely. I'm sure
No.
that's
No,
part.
no. Look, they're selling it to pro customers. That means they're selling it to enterprises. They're selling it to managed environments. So there must be
Okay,
there's always a
that's-
remote control.
That's a good point. I didn't think about it this way. You're right. Yeah, that may be. Yeah. But
Let's see.
hmm.
All right.
Viewer says,
We've-
Anyway,
We've beat that.
yeah, we
horse.
beat that horse to death.
Well, sometimes the horse
Listen
needs
to
be beat,
this,
Amnon.
Nick, and this has something to do with you. Gal, you find out and just let us know real quick. I mean, but at this point, Nick, aren't you glad you don't live in China as a gamer?
Oh yeah, yeah. This is great. Yeah.
New.
Let's talk about how bad America is.
Yeah.
Let's have our bad America talk again. Yeah.
New anti-addiction guidelines for minors that set out limits for time and money spent on mobile games have been introduced by China's state censor. Right, they have a state censor following previous calls to curb excessive gaming. State media published the new rules last Tuesday, which introduced a stricter real name registration system and, for the first time, an age rating system. The state administrations of press and publications guidelines also include limiting gaming to between 8 a.m. and 10 p.m. with no more than 1.5 hours each day, or 3 hours on holidays, and no more than 400 yen, which is $57, to be spent each month on in-game purchases. Gaming analyst Daniel Ahmad said the new rules were in line with expectations, as many of the limits already existed in computer games and were being extended to mobile titles. He expected the real name registration and rating system to have the greatest impact on underage players. The introduction of a stricter real name registrations and age rating system is certainly new and will have a larger impact, given that these systems will be harder for minors to hack or cheat. Now, think about it. Here in the States, if you're 7 years old, you can log in to a porn site and say, I'm 18. And what is your name? Joe Smith. And that's it. It goes. In China, they know who is where and what and how. So and the kids grow up with this way of thinking that that everything that they do is known to somebody up there. So yes, it will make it harder on them. But can you imagine? I mean, I don't know what that's going to do. Uh, we think here about kids at home and parents working. If you limit kids on the computer with games for 1.5 hours each day, I'm not saying
there's a big difference. There's a huge difference between what you're saying.
Okay.
One is you, a parent,
Yeah.
saying, me as a parent, I'm going to decide how long my kids can and
Right.
can't play something. The other is the communist government of China enforcing that and having to deal with penalties.
Right. Well, obviously, when they're talking about it, they're not going to tell the kid not to do it. They're actually aiming it at the parents. You have to make sure that the kid doesn't do it. Here are the rules. And if the rules are broken, you are going to suffer. We're not going to put the kid in.
That's the difference between, that's the difference between your parents saying you're not I only want you playing this for an hour a night, and the government who,
enforces it.
Yeah. And I mean, this is not the most humanitarian government in the world. I mean, so
shouldn't go in the same
sentence. What are they going to do? Come to your house and kill you? I mean, I'm being serious.
I don't know.
I mean, what are the consequences of this going to be?
Who knows? Well, I guess we'll hear about it. But I'll bet you that, I mean, just for you to be flagged as such and being questioned by the government, I don't think that people in China like to deal with their own government. It's like what used to be in Russia. Oh, KGB coming to see me? There must be something real serious. Now I'm gonna disappear. I don't know. But it's very interesting that they're doing this. Whether or not they're doing the right thing, we don't know yet. To us, that looks really strange, real stupid, real controlling, real whatever. But who knows? It may be that it will leave the kids to do other stuff that has to do with learning, and they'll be smarter than our kids. We don't know yet.
Interesting though. So they're putting limits, caps on time spent, right?
Right. For gaming.
Yeah. So if you have a game company, production company, right, you probably take out a permit to play games 8 hours a day or whatever.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, there are definitely some parents that most parents in the Western world, well, I don't know if most parents, but we do know of a lot of parents in the Western world that are not too involved in their children's lives.
Right.
And so there's very little control about this aspect, and this aspect has the tendency to suck your time. But yeah, this is an interesting approach.
And only time will tell whether it works, whether it has a positive.
Well, they're measuring gaming, right? Are they measuring TV time? Right? It's like they're cornering this aspect, single aspect, but it seems like it's not. It's just going to push them to. If it's like here in the States, people treat the computer and YouTube as a babysitter.
True.
Right? Kids from a very little age, they're exposed to these machines at the age of 2. They already know 2 to 3. They already know how to browse YouTube. Their parents have very little concern into what they're actually watching. Very little involvement, right?
Mm-hmm.
And soon after that, it becomes more active into video games, and they get more complex as we move on, as they grow up. And the more the kids are on their own with that, the less the parent has control in taking it away from them, right? So it means the limits needs to be put there from the get-go, from the start, in order to live a healthy life.
Yeah.
So here, the communist government, which is a government that basically its philosophy is the government knows better what the people needs than the people, right? That's part of the idea of communism, is relinquishing a lot of the control to the government. And we're living in a government where democracy, right? Where democracy, the idea that the individual should decide for their own is above everything else. And so we're looking at these two concepts, right? And they're completely clashing. And now they're clashing on something that here in the Western world, we as parents seem to be, at least at some occasions, failing. And here the government is taking that over. It's definitely weird. It's definitely a 1984 type of vibe. As you said, we will not know if it's good or not, probably 20, 30 years from now.
We'll find out one of these days.
Yeah.
Hey, Nick, I have a question about this. And I don't know if you know. I know you during your show, the Infection podcast, you guys talk about the Chinese players. And
yes.
Do they have Chinese-made games online that you know of? Or
absolutely,
they do?
Yes, there are. Yes, because of these strict rules that companies have to abide by to get their game published in China. Yes, there are specific games. Companies will make specific games that are Chinese-only games. The best example is Call of Duty.
Yeah, but wait a second. I'm driving at the fact. They're saying $57 a month, their money. Who's making that money? Are there Chinese companies that make it, or? Huh?
You're talking about what, the limit on microtransactions?
Yeah, they were saying that they are 3 hours with no more. Where was it? Wait a second, I missed that. No more than 400 yen, $57 to be spent each month on in-game purchases.
Microtransactions, yes.
So who makes that money?
The publisher of the game.
So Call of Duty, who makes it? They're making a game for
it's made by Activision,
okay.
but
Go ahead.
It's being published by Tencent in China. Tencent
Okay.
is
So
China.
so th-
There's no there's no one answer to your question.
okay, no, I'm trying to see whose business is impacted, American business or Chinese business when
American business, absolutely,
okay.
absolutely,
Well,
both. But I mean, but a lot of American business, absolutely.
so that's probably a big question that we're not exposed. I mean, with a market of what, third of the population of the world or something like that.
Yeah.
Do they have big publishing companies that are completely Chinese made that overshadow the US published games going out there?
I would recommend everybody, including you, Gal, goes and does a little bit of research into Tencent.
Oh,
Tencent.
Tencent, I've heard about them. Yeah,
Tencent was a company that started in 1997. It is owned like 95% of it is owned by the Chinese government. They now own the company that makes League of Legends. They own part of Activision. They own part of Epic Games. They own part of Ubisoft. They have absolutely taken over the video game space. And they are a Chinese owned and operated company. Chinese government owned and operated company. And there was a lot of controversy behind Tencent. We've had
Yeah.
lots of long conversations about Tencent and their business practices because they're a Chinese owned and operated company. To get your game in China, you have to pretty much go through Tencent because that's how a non-free market system works. So there's a
Okay,
there's a lot of tomfoolery going on.
so they are actually also hurting Chinese business, not just American
It's not
business.
Chinese business. It's the government. I mean, they don't care. Their profits.
Obviously.
Chinese government's not trying to make money.
Yeah.
I mean, Tencent owns 3/4 of Hollywood.
Right. Any business within China can only exist if the governments allow it. Right.
Yeah, so it's not not really a loss.
All right. Here is something else here that I find interesting and makes sense. Security experts don't recommend that users reboot their computers after suffering a ransomware infection, as this could help the malware in certain circumstances. Instead, experts recommend that victims power down the computer, disconnect it from their network, and reach out to a professional IT support firm. Experts are recommending against PC reboots because a recent survey of 1180 US adults who fell victims to ransomware in the past year has shown that almost 30% of victims chose to reboot their computer as a way to deal with the infection. But while rebooting in safe mode is a good way of removing older screen locker types of ransomware, it is not recommended when dealing with modern ransomware versions that encrypt files. If you reboot the machine, it will start back up and try to finish the job. It makes sense. I mean, knock on wood, I have never dealt with the ransomware on my network here or customer. But this makes sense. The only thing is you take it to a professional IT. What is the first thing they're going to do? They're going to start it.
Not if it's ransomware. Not if you tell them it's ransomware.
Well, what do you do? How do you fix it? What do you do?
You boot from
You boot
another
from
OS
another. Okay, yeah,
and
you
mount
could.
it offline.
Right, that's true. Too.
True. Now you're also
Okay.
assuming that the user can articulate to the IT
That
firm
it's ransomware.
that it's ransomware.
Yeah.
But,
Well,
and if they can articulate it, they probably, if they're have to bring it to an IT firm to deal with, they probably can't articulate what it is.
well, I saw a screen that tells me I need to buy my that I can't open my my daughter's pictures, right? That's when the IT person needs to start asking questions. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you don't deal with the computer. If the customer tells you that there was a very, very strange smell coming out of the computer, you don't power it up. If the customer tells you the computer behaves in some way, you ask questions before you hook it up and ask what the problem is. If you're not doing that, then yeah, you're not good at your job. That's all.
You know, now that I'm thinking back, when people called and said that they went on a site that told them that they have malware or virus or whatever, the first questions that I used to ask is, so how many times did you restart it since? And they would say, oh, this happened last week, and I've been using the computer and starting it every morning. I would know at that point that that thing is entrenched in there. Not that I was educated by anybody to think that way, but it just makes sense. So now I'm thinking about it. That's right. It's you put it on a third. You put another drive. You boot from different ones. That's true. I forgot that. It's been some time since I dealt with that. But yeah,
It's a different world. It's not 1990 anymore.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I totally understand it because it would be so easy for whatever injected the ransomware to also inject a rootkit. And then once you put it, right, you're screwed. Finding that would be only with an offline system. So
Yeah. Yep.
Doesn't Malwarebytes makes a tool to remove rootkits. I believe it's called the ADW cleaner.
yeah, it requires
But it does do a reboot. Yeah.
Any rootkit removal, it requires a USB that you prepare on an uninfected machine, right? And you boot through the USB. That's what you do.
The thing is with ADW, Nick, is you really need to know what you're doing because you can remove things that shouldn't be removed. So yes, for us to use it, it's fine. But for an end user that doesn't know much about it,
well, an end user is not going to install ADW.
yeah, well, but yeah, it's always better to do it with another. Yeah.
I have something.
Okay.
So this week, I encountered. I sent it to Nick.
Oh.
I encountered the Snappy Driver Installer Origin.
Yes, tell me about
application. This is wow. This is an amazing piece of software. So
oh, he sent it to Nick. Did he send it to me? No.
I sent it to Amnon. Don't worry. Hater.
I don't know why I sent it only to Nick, but it's like I discovered it on one late night. I was dealing with a remote computer in Israel from a family and was trying to clean it up. And I was gauging its age. It's an old computer running Windows 7. And I was looking, and it seemed like some of the drivers were missing, but I really didn't want to. I wanted to get something that will scan all the drivers and tell me what's out of date. So I was looking for a couple of them. Most of them that pop up when you search in search engines, they're either bundledware with adware. It's like it's amazing the amount of crap people need to deal with. Most of them are terrible, but this one, which used to be called Snappy Driver Installer, but now Snappy Driver Installer is evil, and it is no longer completely open source and has a lot of bundleware. Snappy Driver Installer Origin is the completely open source version of that. It scans your system, matches it to its online database. It's called indexes of drivers, identifies the drivers. They maintain packages of the drivers that are downloaded via torrent. So theoretically, the more people use it, the better the bandwidth. and you can choose to also host the driver seed, the driver's package after. So it's a choice. It's an opt-in choice. So they don't force you to it. And it scanned. It pretty much provides a list of every driver that you have installed, what can be updated, and more than that, what is recommended to be updated. Like it says a new version exists and it is a more optimal version as well. So it tracks through its network and people using it. It tracks whether a driver is a good one, and it does it in minutes. It that Windows 7 machine, I got it updated very easily. Everything runs a lot smoother than. Then I ran it on my machine, which I installed myself. I re-imaged it, reinstalled Windows on it from scratch about 2 months ago, and I went and went online and downloaded. This is a Dell machine, so I downloaded Dell's auto update at the time, and so I was pretty sure that I'm using everything on the most updated, most secure patched drivers. I was wrong. Almost everything was outdated on my machine. So I went through the list. And I was experiencing some issues that I couldn't resolve on my own. Went through the list of the drivers, made sure everything made sense. You can choose what to do, what not. They have the option to create a restore point before. So it's a complete auto update for drivers that were created by different manufacturers, right? Vetted for your system, all matched with all of the internal IDs and all of that. When something changes, it shows you a comparison of what's going to change in the IDs. And so really, really recommend this. I'm going to paste the link in a moment.
Do you have to download it as a torrent? We're using a torrent?
No.
Okay.
The torrent engine is something internal,
Okay.
just for the packaging of it.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it's really simple. You just run it, and it works. I talked about this in the past. I use Scoop to manage online portable applications, so it's part of Scoop as well. So it was really easy for me to install. But it's just a package to run, install, and you run it. You run it. Either you let it, if you want to see it, if you want to be part of the network. I don't recommend that. But if you want to do that, you can, and you can run it all the time, or just run it once, I don't know, every quarter or every 6 months, and I think you'll be happy with the results.
So you're going to post it?
Yeah, I'm looking for it. I got there was a site. I want the site.
Okay.
I got the, give me a second now.
That's fine. In the meantime, if you're an AT&T cell customer, or I'm sorry, yeah, here is what it says. That AT&T is adding $10 to the monthly bills of customers with certain grandfathered mobile data plans and not letting them switch back to their older packages. AT&T is pitching the change as a bonus because it also adding 15 gig to the customer's monthly data allotments. Enjoy more data, AT&T says in the support document. Starting with your October 2019 bill, you'll get an additional 15 gig of data on your mobile share plan. This bonus data comes with a $10 price increase. Paying an extra $10 for another 15 gig isn't a bad deal as far as US wireless prices go, but that's only true if you actually need the extra data. The plans getting the data and price increases already had between 20 gig and 60 gig of data per month. at prices that range from 100 to 225. Now those plans have 35 gig to 75 gig and cost 110 to 235. The data allotments can be shared among multiple people on the same family plan. So they just decided, okay, we're going to do away with all the grandfather plans and we're going to give them 15 gig more and we're going to charge $10 more.
AT&T, that's the company that people are running away from. They are masters at that, right?
Unbelievable. I mean, it's okay if you want to do away with your grandfathered plans because you can. Just change them, but don't add money. Don't change what the plan does. Just don't call it a grandfather. This is a new plan. It's a current plan. It's the same thing. And then if they want to raise it, they raise it. But they can do away with any older plans like everybody else does. It's just amazing that this is arrogance. This is making decision for people. Like, true. I mean, if you have 20 gig and you're using 8 gig, what is another 10, 15 gig going to do for you? So did you find the link?
Yeah, I sent it.
Okay. Here is something for Gal and us talk about. A coalition that includes Netflix, HBO, and cable industry titans is stepping up efforts to crack down on password sharing, discussing new measures to close a loophole that could be costing companies billions of dollars in lost revenue each year. That's from Bloomberg. Programmers and cable TV distributors are considering an array of tactics to cut off people who borrow credentials from friends and relatives to access programming without paying for it. The possible measures include requiring customers to change their passwords periodically or texting codes to subscribers' phone that they would need to enter to keep watching, according to people familiar with the matter. Some TV executives want to create rules governing which devices can be used to access a cable TV subscription outside the home. While someone logging in from a phone or tablet would be fine, someone using a Roku device at a second location could be considered a likely freeloader. One person said, if none of those tactics work, pay TV subscribers could someday be required to sign into their accounts using their thumbprints. So then there's going to be a real good market for 3D thumbprinting.
Can we look at the root cause of this problem?
I don't.
Stop giving away your freaking password for your Netflix account.
Well, that's the point. They're giving it, and if they're giving it, that means I should be able to be anywhere. If I live in the house, like Hannah, if she lives here, and she is somewhere in the mountains, she should be able to watch.
Agreed.
Now, I don't know how HBO works, and I don't know how other providers are working as far as allowing multiple people to watch. But if I think anybody in the home can watch what they want, I mean, after all, they all advertise the thing that, the kids can do this and you can do that and mom can do that. So that's different ways of doing it, different people watching different things.
Well, I have one
Okay.
real problem. So the laws they are trying to enforce, the rules they're
Mhm.
trying to enforce are a per customer rule.
Yeah.
Right? But
Per
technology can only work per device.
Correct.
Now they claim and this is my gripe. They claim that the problem is lost revenue.
Yeah.
I'm saying, I'm calling bullshit on that, right?
Right.
And this is the same lost revenue that they're talking about piracy, sorry. And I'm saying that the lost revenue around piracy is probably around 10% of the amount of piracy that's happening, right? Or 5%, not 100%. And so when you're looking and you're saying, I lost, I don't know, 100 million, right? First of all, the loss is around 10 million. So really, really focus on the efforts and how much you are going to put into them.
Mm-hmm.
That's one. Two, you're persecuting people, right, by measuring devices.
Okay.
And the costs for operating, right, goes to devices, not goes to people. So instead of trying to persecute the people, trying to put the people on the spot, just be lenient about what you allow. Netflix has the number of concurrent devices option, right? They let you buy 1, 2, or 5, I don't remember, concurrent devices. That should be enough. So what if that account is being used 24 hours because it's shared by 2 people who use it at different times,
Mm-hmm.
right? What's the big deal? You're crying wolf. They're crying, I'm being robbed, right, by something, and they're going to create the whole technology around preventing you from doing that. And in effect, what they're going to do is just create, a lot more friction for the end user instead of embracing the users. I don't know. It seems to me a lot of hoopla. The idea that they are losing revenue on that, I call bullshit on that.
Well,
I think they're not. I think they're not that's not the main source of losing revenue.
I mean, they are losing revenue, but we need to insert another word. They are losing potential revenue.
Right.
Because
exactly.
if 10 people are paying $10 a month, that's $100, and they have 5 people in each house, supposedly. If those that are not in the same house are watching it for free, it's still just $100 a month. Now, if those people that are not part of the family for real would subscribe, then they are making more money, obviously.
Does it
So
matter?
that's where the money, it's potential money. Whether or not these people will subscribe or not is a whole different question.
Okay, let me ask this.
Yeah.
Does it matter that, I don't know, my neighbor,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Which I consider as a brother.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Does it matter? Or you know what? Forget that. My girlfriend, right?
You have a girlfriend?
Hypothetically.
Nick.
Right?
We're talking.
Right? So a couple that isn't married,
Yeah.
right? But if they decide buying a subscription to Netflix, and sometimes they watch it apart, right? Only one of them is registered there
Mhm.
by name. The other, by the contract, is breaking the law. They don't live in the same household. They have 2 separate addresses, right? They
Mhm.
spend a lot of time together. They decided to buy this together. They're even allowed 2 concurrent devices, so they are watching at the same time. Are they violating or not? Right? By the letter of the law, they're violating.
Yeah.
And that's the problem.
Well, no, I don't know that they're.
This is lawyer money. This isn't real business money. And that's the problem of the whole discussion. Building a coalition. This is lawyer talk, right? This is persecution of individuals just because potentially we can squeeze a little more. But
right, potentially.
And what I'm thinking is, if we don't squeeze, if I was the company, if I had any say in it, right? If you don't squeeze your customers, then you'll get them coming more, right? You get more of them. it's just a matter of time. But if you squeeze them, then numbers starts to go down. And that's what I'm saying. That's my
Okay.
problem with this whole talk. It has nothing to do with doing good with the company. It has nothing good with doing good with its customers. It has everything with doing good to the lawyers of the company. And I don't want to pay them. I don't want them to be. I don't think a company needs to increase their revenues just because they need to pay their lawyers. The lawyers needs to be there on whatever retainer or fee they get.
Yeah.
But all of this, come on, this is just trying to create law in order to create law. That's it. And
Yeah. Talking about John in the chat saying, "What till your smart TVs?" Telling them how many people are watching. There's another article here that's very interesting. It says an unspecified number of smart TVs manufactured by Samsung will lose native support for Netflix next month. The company said in an announcement last week. It says Netflix app installed or available for Samsung smart TVs manufacturers in 2010 and 2011. It said it's a C and D lineups, and likely sold for many years after that, will stop functioning December 2nd. Samsung alerted customers this week. In a statement, a company spokesperson said these TV models were sold only in the US and Canada. In its statement, the top smart TV manufacturer advised affected customers to look for a game console, streaming media player, set-top box, or other devices that will support Netflix app to continue their binge-watching sessions. A Netflix spokesperson cited technical limitations for the change. The development comes weeks after Netflix alerted several Roku customers that they too will lose access to the streaming service on December 1st. So,
I don't have a problem with this.
well, I mean, you may not have a problem, but if you have, I don't know what what version thing ours have, and
Well,
you know,
okay, so think about it from, I understand you as the consumer, but you got to think about it from the technology side. They're
yeah,
having to maintain and manage these old deprecated technologies for these smart TVs, and the security is not there. I mean, it makes sense.
yeah, but I mean, can't Samsung patch those
No,
apps and make them work?
there's no update paths for any of that stuff.
what age of TVs are they
They
talking about?
said that manufactured in 2010 and 2011, and it says C and D lineups, and likely sold for many years after that.
So basically, they're putting an expiry date on TVs because of their software.
Yeah.
This is why
Only
smart
for
TV
only
this is
for
why this is why
Netflix.
smart TVs are a terrible idea. I've
Right.
always
Yeah.
been on this side. Smart TVs are a terrible idea. And again, this is not Netflix's fault. They're trying to maintain and operate systems that are 10
Oh, I'm
years
not.
old.
Yeah, I'm
And
not.
technology has changed dramatically in those
I'm
10
not
years.
blaming Netflix.
Well, I
I'm
wouldn't call
saying
it an operating system, right? Those are really
Well,
crippled pieces of software, and
Yeah.
to start with, yeah.
But you look at services that don't support HTTPS. I mean,
yeah,
like for
Yeah, yeah.
example, the a very popular Netflix device, and they did this a couple years ago, was the Nintendo Wii. It was a very, very popular Netflix device. The Nintendo Wii was the best-selling video game console ever in the United States, and that came out in 2000.
Okay, so
The
I don't know,
original
whatever.
Wii, the original Wii,
The
not the Wii
original
U?
Wii was the
Oh.
best-selling console in the United States. So and as that device got older and people started getting newer consoles, that kind of turned into a defaulto Netflix player for a lot of people. Well, a couple of years ago, Netflix had to deprecate that system because you're dealing with a console that the point was 10 years old.
Yeah.
So
okay, so these days, if there are people who are listening and they have one of those TVs, what would you recommend they would get that will be the cheapest and easiest to set up?
I mean, you can get a smart TV. The thing is,
No,
when
no,
your
you don't
smart
wanna
TV
get
hits a
no, you
what?
don't wanna get a smart. I mean, you bought the
What?
TV and that
You do want to get a smart TV.
you have a smart TV. I'm
Yeah.
talking about they're saying that people should get a
A Roku.
no,
Amazon Fire.
The Roku actually also loses it on
First
yeah,
gen Rokus. Those
right.
came out in 2007.
So they're saying to get a set-top TV or to
Yeah.
get another streaming media player. So what is the cheapest way that people can get that and the easiest to set up?
You want to be
Roku?
honest? Hold on. You probably already have a video game console on your TV. A lot of people do. And those make great Netflix players or Amazon instant video players. If you don't have one of those, or an Amazon Fire TV or a Roku, which you can
Okay.
get on sale
Yeah.
for $30. I mean,
Okay,
you're
that's
not
what
talking-
that's what
yeah.
I'm talking about. So
You're
Yeah,
not
I
talking
agree.
about-
The fix is easy.
you're not talking about a $300 solution.
But-
Now, I'm not against, I think you should buy a smart TV, but after 10 years, if the smart TV becomes no longer smart, then
Right.
you buy a $30 add-on device and call it a day.
Well,
I
first
thought-
of all, I don't think we have an option today of buying non-smart TVs anymore.
No.
right.
Isn't your TV you just bought not smart?
No, it has a Roku built in.
Oh, it does.
No, I mean it's the
and
thing
this was cheap, right?
Yeah.
This was like dirt cheap.
the thing is that it sounds to us, oh yeah, get a Roku, get a Fire TV. A lot of people there that just bought the computer, the TV and used it, they want to understand. They never had an external piece of equipment there, and I guess if you get a Roku or a Fire TV stick, you just plug it into a port, a USB port or an HDMI port, USB port on the
It's not USB, it's HDMI.
HDMI on the TV, and you follow the prompts. It's not difficult, and it's cheap. And you're going to suddenly discover a lot of other channels. Now, yes, it requires that you have Wi-Fi or that you run an Ethernet into it.
We already have Wi-Fi if you're using a smart TV or Ethernet.
True.
One or the other.
True. So it's not that difficult, but I could swear that I remember seeing we have a Samsung TV that's about, I don't know, 5-6 years old, and it would flash a banner on the very top. It says there's an update for blah 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 blah. Do you want to do it now? I said, no.
Yeah.
So there are some patches and updates to certain things involved in a smart TV, but maybe not for everything.
Yeah,
You're right,
once the
yeah.
core technologies get out of date, then you're out.
So yeah, if you have a smart TV, and they're talking again about C and D lineups. I don't know what that means.
Just think
It
about
may-
this though. think about the and believe me, I'm no Netflix apologist, but think about the uphill battle and the struggle of being a developer at one of these companies like Netflix, where a large majority of your user base is using old deprecated hardware, and you're
Mhm.
having to kind of work with one hand behind your back to to keep the service running, because you have to support all these old legacy devices.
Yeah, it's just like Microsoft and Intel.
Well, the
having
difference
to
between
keep-
Microsoft is they're not making most of the apps, right? That's the individual people. But in this case with Netflix,
No,
it's
no,
like-
I'm talking about their OS. That they never went ahead fast because they wanted to still support legacy. And
Yeah.
the same thing with the processors. If
Yeah.
they could say, you know what, forget about all the software that you had in the last, I mean, prior to 2015, we would have real fast computers these days. But because they maintaining that, it slows things down. But that's the price we pay. Yeah. Did any of you get a lot of text messages this weekend?
No.
Something strange is happening with text messages in the US right now. Overnight, and this is from yesterday, a multitude of people received text messages that appear to have originally been sent on or around Valentine's Day to 2019. As these people never received the text messages in the first place, the people who sent the messages had no idea that they never been received, and they did nothing to attempt to resend them overnight. Delayed
Oh yeah,
messages were sent. What?
I saw somebody posting on Facebook about this, and I had no idea what they were talking about.
Yeah, it says that delay messages were sent from and received by both iPhones and Android's phone, and the messages seem to have been sent and received across all major carriers in the US. Many of the complaints involve T-Mobile or Sprint, although AT&T and Verizon have been mentioned as well. People using regional US carriers in Canada, and even Google Voice also seem to have experienced delays. At fault seems to be a system that multiple cell carriers use for messaging. A Sprint spokesperson said a maintenance update last night caused the error. I mean, I don't know that that's, I would say fix the error. I don't know about cause the error. But I mean, the text messages from months back never went out and were stored somewhere that finally say, oh, phew, let's get out. Interesting. So if you have girlfriends, you must have gotten some of these.
Now, just to be clear, this is text messages, right? This is
Yeah.
not iMessage. This is so on the iPhone, it would have been iPhone to Android.
Well, they do say that they have that iPhones and Android phones.
Because
but-
iPhones do send text messages,
Okay.
but
all right.
it's not an iMessage. It's a text message. So it would have been iPhone to Android or Android to Android.
And our area has been in the news last week. UPS subsidiary Flight Forward has completed the first prescription medication delivery to a customer's home by drone. Reuters reports that Flight Forward's maiden delivery flight on Friday in Cary, North Carolina, beat rivals in one phase of the race for the nascent market. The second drone flight delivered medication to a public space at a retirement community. The packages, roughly the size of small shoeboxes, were lowered from drones hovering at an altitude of about 20 feet. UPS and CVS said on Tuesday the deliveries were the first of their kind under a program approved by the U.S. Federal Administration. So they did that. They did it. I don't know if you see something coming down. I'm sure they were lowered. And if you go and you reach for the tether, the rope, or whatever it is, and you pull the drone down, what happens? But it's interesting that they did it in Cary, North Carolina. All right. I've got a bunch more stories, but time. The time is here. Smart TV, smart apps are already obsolete, Alan said. Yeah. So, anything else?
Yeah, one final thing. Keep
Go
an
ahead.
eye on you probably heard a little bit about Blue Keep this week, which is the new yeah, we didn't have a chance to talk about it.
Right,
But
go
it's
ahead.
the the new set of ransomware, or excuse me, the new set of crypto locker. It's called Blue Keep, so just keep an eye out for that. Make sure
Yep.
you're updating your machine.
Yep, I updated my XP.
Thank God. That's not a joke, ladies and gentlemen.
No, it's not. It's for real. If you're listening to us now on audio only, then that server is running on XP.
That's not. Amnon has no other computers he could possibly update that system to. He's got to use that Windows XP computer.
Yep.
He has no other systems
No.
in-house.
Oh, shut up.
You just invited a bunch
I
of...
need to shut up. You need to shut up with you and your freaking Windows XP. I mean, I want to talk about the problem. Bing, 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 bing. It's right there.
Oh,
You're the reason I can't get a faster computer because you've got people like you.
yeah, right.
XP.
Exactly.
You are the problem.
What were you saying, Gal?
You just advertised for hackers to come in.
Yeah, well, they're welcome to it.
It's on its own VLAN.
Yep. All right. So is that it?
Put the Windows XP in S mode. Hackers hate that.
Make sure you port forward the RDP on that computer. No password.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
It was fun. And if Spence is still here, have fun down there. Good morning, Kathy, Hannah, Nabil, Mac, Norm, Katie and Dina. Thanks, everybody, for tuning to Computers 2K Now. We hope you enjoyed and maybe learned something from our time together. Remember to practice safe computing. Back up your hard drive, update your virus scanner. We'll be back here next Sunday at 9, but you can always reach us at Computers 2K Now. See you next week.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Telestream's Wirecast software, StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.